On this week's The Next Interview Show podcast.
Break self-trust. Don't create an environment where I can ask you to trust me if I can't trust myself first. I talk about trust from a reciprocal nature. First, I trust me, then I trust you, then you trust you, then you have to trust me. There's a reciprocal nature in that. Hi, I'm Doland White. I'm the host of the Next Interview Show podcast, and I want to make an offer to you before we get into the interview here in just a couple of seconds. I want to offer you to go to my website. It's dolandwhite.com/LWC and download a copy of my book. It's called Lead with Confidence, 4 Bold Steps for Empowered Leadership. And in it, there are 4 pillars of empowerment that I talk about that you can apply immediately that may help you on your leadership journey and help you today. Now let's get to our conversation. So as the announcer mentioned, I'm Doland White. I'm the host of the podcast, and for this episode, you're stuck with me. This episode, the title of this episode is the Matt Levin Hagen Doland's Going on Vacation Memorial Podcast. And I want to give a tip of the hat to a dear friend of mine. His name is Matt Levin Hagen. Matt runs a podcast from a company called Unified Web Design, and the podcast is called The Builders Podcast. And check it out. Podcasts are intended for all of us to learn something from each other. And Matt and I just had a call, and he reminded me of a tenet that when you make a commitment, because you keep the commitment. And the truth is, I'd actually decided that next week I was going to push an episode and take a week gap. And because of my conversation with Matt, I didn't do that. But it reminded me of a lesson that I think that's important for all of us to think about. So I'm going to kind of share some thoughts. I've got some notes on my screen, and this is kind of an impromptu podcast today, as you can tell by my dive and surf beach attire here. Caribbean is going to be my home for the next couple of weeks, and I'm looking forward to going. But I also want to make sure that we continue our conversations about leaders. So for those of you who may not have met me, this may be your first podcast. I'm Doland White. I'm the host. The podcast is the Next Interview Show. My title on LinkedIn is I'm the empowerment guy, because my mission in life is to empower 1 million leaders. And I've been at this for a long time, more than 40 years, as you can probably tell by the white hair, and the white goatee, and the white mustache. But in my conversation with Matt, I was reminded that as a leader, there are lessons that we learn and we remind ourselves. I had a mentor for many, many years, a guy named Bob Proctor, and Bob was around for a long time. He was America's transformational leader for years and years and years and years. And you probably know Bob from the movie The Secret and from other kinds of places. But one of the things that Bob would do is he would give us homework assignments when we would come out of his mastermind, and he would have us write with our non-dominant hand, which happens to be, in my case, my left hand, but we would write our affirmation with our left hand without giving you my affirmation. But I will tell you that writing with your non-dominant hand is great because it connects all kinds of synapses that you don't normally use, and especially if you do it in consecutive days, more than 21 days, because it's 66 days to be able to have it. But he would have us do this for 90 days. And if you missed a day, your count went back to 0, and you had to start over again. And he was insistent on that. And for those of us that took it seriously, sometimes it took me a whole year to get to 90 consecutive days on a particular task that Bob was teaching me. And I was thinking about that while talking with Matt around commitment. And I've made a commitment for the podcast to have the podcast every Monday at 7 a.m. Pacific to reach the podcast. And I'm in my early 30s of podcast episodes out there. So it's been 30 weeks or so since I've started the podcast. And I was going to push it, a week. And in pushing a week, it's just kind of like, well, that's okay. I'm on vacation. I'm going to push the following Monday, which happens to be April 21st. And in doing that, and in my conversation with Matt, thank you, Matt, for this conversation, I was reminded of the tenets of when you make a commitment, it's important to keep that. And when I teach leadership, I talk about commitments through accountability and communication. And we generally talk about it going that way. But I think there's a lesson here. And the lesson is as a reminder, even to myself, that when we make a commitment and we keep the commitment to ourselves, that several things happen, that we just don't go, well, it's okay if I miss it this time. It won't happen again, because it will happen again. So this is the podcast that fills the gap. And it's my mea culpa for failing to maintain my own personal commitment. And the reasons behind that are, if you don't maintain that personal commitment, you break self-trust. And when you break self-trust, you break the reason why anyone else should follow me. So if I break my own trust, is there a reason why you're going to trust my own leadership when I'm talking to you about empowerment? When I talk to you about setting a standard as a leader, being first one in, last one out, all the standards that I talk about, maintaining my commitments. If I break those commitments, why am I going to ask you to keep those commitments? If I'm asking you to be continuous, to maintain continuity in an effort and consistency, right? Context, consistency, and continuity, the 3 C's. And I'm not willing to do that. We break that because I've broken my piece of it. And the last part is when I'm asking you to be integrous and I don't maintain my own integrity from an episode perspective, it's kind of hard to expect that of you as well. So when I teach 4 components, and all of these things tie into them. The very first thing that I talk about when I teach is trust and autonomy. And when you break self-trust, I don't create an environment where I can ask you to trust me if I can't trust myself first. I talk about trust from a reciprocal nature. First, I trust me, then I trust you, then you trust you, then you have to trust me. There's a reciprocal nature in that. It's the same thing in communication and transparency. Transparency can be replaced with the word vulnerability. If I'm asking you to be vulnerable and communicate and failing to do that myself, and candidly, nobody probably would have paid attention whether I had missed a week or not missed a week. I would have known. So through my own vulnerability, I've accepted that as a reason not to pursue it. Same thing with innovation, right? Growth and innovation is the 3rd pillar, a third of the 4 pillars that I talk about. And when you're talking about growth and innovation is that willingness to try, and it's founded in trust. Innovation means I'm willing to think of something new. So here we are, having a conversation about a personal shortcoming and a lesson and a reminder that even a guy who's about 71 years old in current point in time can learn from his buddy Matt, or be reminded of from his buddy Matt. And the system of accountability means I'm accountable to you. I'm accountable to you too. I've made a commitment every week through my own personal accountability to be here every week, Monday morning at 7 a.m. So this Monday morning, 7 a.m., I'm going to be in the Caribbean somewhere, but this podcast is going to go live, by gosh. And this is the Matt Levin Hagen Memorial Podcast, where we talk again about these 4 domains: trust and autonomy, communication and transparency, growth and innovation, and systems of accountability. So I encourage you, learn from this podcast. If you learn anything from this podcast, share it with another leader. The intention for all of the podcasts that I create is to help leaders be better at leading other people. So this is my opportunity to help you in that process. Thanks for letting me come confess my intention originally to miss a podcast this week. It's a short podcast. Do come check out the other podcasts. I've got some amazing guests coming up, amazing guests that have happened. Thanks for listening to the next interview show podcast. Give it a like, subscribe, follow. Appreciate you. Have a great week.
The next interview.